Tired of coffee that just wakes you up and then drops you off like your ex's emotional baggage? Meet Mystic Monkey, the deluxe mushroom coffee from Monkey Werx. Dark roast? Check. Chocolate and caramel notes? Oh yeah. Organic lion's mane and chaga mushrooms? You bet your brain it does. This isn't your grandma's mushroom soup. This is high performance, brain boosting, gut loving, smooth sipping jungle juice. Feel sharp? Stay chill, and maybe, just maybe, unlock the secrets of the universe. Or at least remember where you left your keys. Mystic Monkey. Brew it, sip it, transcend your to-do list. Only at monkeywerx.com. Works for the soul.
All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Going to be your SITREP. It is 6/19/2025, coming to you live from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. And so today we're going to be talking more about the Middle East and Iran and what's happening, what's on the forecast for this weekend, how much does the United States get engaged in all of this. I'm just going to go through the news cycle and show you exactly what's going on. We're going to bounce it against the skies. We got a lot of stuff to cover, so buckle up. It's going to be a sporty 30 minutes, all right, folks? So without further ado, let me take you over to the Mini. This is Skyglass, the most advanced flight tracker on the planet. You definitely want to have this one in your quiver. And looking at the skies today now, it is a federal bank holiday. I think it's Juneteenth, right? So sky's a little lighter than usual. We got about 96 up. One thing that is very evident to me that I don't see, that I find very interesting, KC-135s and the 767-200 tankers, they aren't up. I got one KC-135 and that's it. Typically, our baseline's 25. So where are they? I'm sure we didn't just abandon and leave everything off in the U.S. More than likely because it's a holiday. There's not as many flying. However, I will say we got a lot of assets that went across the drink. I'm going to show you the traces from a tanker perspective. In fact, I'm even going to show you some F-35 traces so you can see it, which is very unusual, by the way. Don't see those at all. Also, I did want to point out, I'm using my backup right now to make this show happen. It is absolutely amazing to me that almost to the minute of me going live, my internet goes offline. Just insane. Coincidence? Probably not. Okay. This is a message they don't really want me getting out, right? We start talking about broken bow. You start talking about the fall of Iran. This is a big, big deal, and we're going to go into the deets of all of that. I'm going to show you, I'm going to line it up exactly what's happening, and you'll see it's actually coming to fruition. It's pretty crazy, and yes, it is biblical. So without further ado, let me take you over. Let's see. We're going to start off looking at the skies again, 96 up. I'm going to kick it up to the side here real fast, and you'll see there are some high flyers, right? Now, one of the things, there is another one that's right up here that disappeared as well just when I was about to go live. But they've got a handful of the Intel balloons that are up. This is all ISR capabilities, right? Intel surveillance reconnaissance. So when you see these yellow rings like this, those are just known visibility just based on altitude of where this would be. Now, if these let's say, for example, these Mil Intel balloons have an over-the-horizon capability. That means it's basically electronically stimulated further than these yellow rings would be. That means they could be watching, even from here, they could probably have the whole East Coast covered if they have that capability. Now, I don't know if they do or not, but this is what our skies look like right now. We've got an R-135 signal intelligence bird transitioning out of MacDill Air Force Base right now, headed westbound. And we are going to talk about this whole doomsday airplane thing. So buckle up, just stand by. It's not what everybody thinks. So when I say buckle up, just prepare yourself. It could actually come into fruition and come into play eventually. All right. But it's a normal occurrence. And I'm going to go into that here in just a minute, just to show you where it is, what's going on, where they're flying around. Is it something to be concerned about? No. Okay, so don't worry about it. If you see somebody posting that this thing is up and airborne, oh my God, it's a doomsday plane, it's normal, folks. It's normal, okay? All right, you see this one up here flashing? That's just an aircraft that's squawking in emergency. It could be anything, general emergency, everything from no radio to, hydraulic issue, bird strike. I mean, it could be anything, okay? All right. So let's talk ISR first and foremost. I'll take you over here to the intelligence community. We're going to look strictly at the U.S. and the Middle East. You'll notice there's a lot of flying going on off the coastline of Libya, all right? That's because there's civil unrest going on in Libya, but remember the Russians took that location over when we bailed out from Benghazi, all right? So you can thank old Hillary for that one. Now, you see that right out over the Gulf of America, that man in the middle circle? Pay attention to that one because that means they're looking at ship traffic more than likely all the way down probably into the Yucatan and everything that's coming in and out of that area. And then, of course, you get over here, again, another one out over the mountains. Remember, they've been watching this area. I'm telling you, they're watching this area with the R135s as well. Right? More than likely, you've got communities that live up there that they've got eyes on. And some broken traces headed out over the Pacific. All right? When they go dark like that, that's definitely, they don't want you knowing what they're looking at, okay? All right, let's get over to the drones. Again, we'll start off in the Middle East. You'll notice coming out of Malta, there's quite a bit of activity. And then Turkey's very active with their drones. And again, out over the Mediterranean north of Libya. Okay, and then you got this one, kind of a strange little flight pattern. It bounces out. It's probably a Q4 drone doing a little intel gathering. They're on the East Coast. You got some stuff up there in the northern border. And you can see this one that breaks out and heads kind of northeast. All right. Let's go on. R135 signal intelligence. Now, notice what we don't see. Nothing over the Middle East. Yeah, if they did fly, nothing over Europe, which is very unusual. Right? Very, very unusual. So let's take us over to the United States. Again, remember I just showed you they were looking out over the mountain range. Well, that right there is doing the same thing. Signal intelligence, right? So what that does is just snatches up data. So stuff that's getting sent via cell phone traffic, whatever it may be, anything up there, all right? Notice that too. See, remember we just showed you the intel plane that was out over the Gulf of America doing a little man in the middle circle. Well, you got signal intelligence out there too. I think they're worried about maybe the Iranians or somebody parking something out there in the middle of the Gulf of America. Okay, AWACS. Now, notice the French kind of getting in on the business. Come out. They're probably just getting a look for their own. I doubt they're sharing anything they gather. But they're taking a close look at the Middle East. Again, advanced warning. A little man in the middle over the Baltic Sea, down into Europe. All right, again, man in the middle, more than likely, as they loiter. And then this one down to the Texas border. And that's going to be an E2. So it's a smaller platform, Navy asset looking out over the Chesapeake. Okay. All right. So let's talk here for a second. Look at the amount of traffic going across the drink. This is going to be your air refuelers as they head across in just a second. Let me show you. This is coming into the Middle East. Notice the trace is broken out over the Mediterranean. More than likely, that's connected right here to here. And then you can see a little bit into Italy. All right, you get up a little further north. You can see some stuff going into Europe, into the UK. Look at the trace lines here, right? That's in addition to, okay, so this is Skybridge 2.0. Remember the other day I showed you there was a ton of stuff that went in to the Middle East. Now, we've got F-22s, and I'll show you that in just a second. Well, I can't show you, just the article. But you've got F-22s, a squadron of them that just got moved over yesterday, I think it was, or the day before yesterday, into England, and they are more than likely rolling into. There's an interesting thing about the F-22. I can look into my massive database. This thing is about 500,000 strong. I can look at it, and I can pull every F-35 that makes it into the cycle that is actually flying, assigned to a squadron, whatever it may be. F-22s aren't even in there. B-2s not in there. So you cannot see them, can't trace them, anything, all right? It's a good thing, but they don't want you knowing where those things are at all. So the fact that there was an article that came out that showed, 12 of them, a full squadron landing on the runway in England is interesting, right? Now, I do know we already had them in Jordan, I think that was probably about a year ago. We deployed a squadron out there. I don't think those have ever come back. They're still out there. So we've got a lot of F-22s. You want to talk about a powerful U.S. military asset. There's a reason why we don't sell that to anybody else but the U.S. Air Force, right? It is the most advanced fighter on the planet. F-35, everything that it has that's, makes it all freaky styly, it gets it from the F-22, okay? All right, let's talk C-17s for just a second, too. You'll notice there is a lot of transitions. Look at this stuff. Now, this one, back and forth, that's G7 related. That's just moving stuff like motorcades, whatever it may be, security. All right, but that's 2 days worth of flying across the drink, just like the air refuelers I just showed you, same thing. Look at the volume goes into Ramstein, and then look at the volume coming down into the Middle East. More than likely, those assets are going into Amman, Jordan, or Saudi, right? Probably not Doha if I was a betting man, but notice they're all cut off. Okay, you see that? Really nothing going into Doha. There's a line that goes down further south of that, but now that's us flexing over the last 2 days. Remember, we were talking about the evacs. I'm going to show you an article in just a minute. Let me fast forward this. Actually, it's not going to let me do the fast forward, but when you get over here to the volume that came across the last time we checked in, so last SITREP, remember I showed you there was a whole bunch of flights that came out of Doha, okay? That air base there. You can see the volume, and it goes into Spain, right? And I thought, man, did it arrive? I'm not thinking it is. I think they were evacuations, okay? So just eyes on it. I'll show you an article that'll actually dovetail that and confirm what we were thinking, okay? Okay, now, let's get over here to the news. First and foremost, let me just tell you, when it comes to the Doomsday plane, I just mentioned it a minute ago. This is I-24, so this is an Israeli news cycle pushing this out. Presidential Doomsday plane lands near D.C. amid rising tensions in the Middle East. Okay. In this thing, it says it's designed to withstand electromagnetic pulses, right? EMPs and nuclear blasts. It's only been used for exceptional circumstances like 9/11. You may remember Bush flew to Barksdale Air Force Base in it. So let me just tell you, there are 4 of these in the fleet. They're available 24/7, and they fly all the time, daily. In fact, I've seen them land out here at DFW, okay? So this is just what it's been doing the last 2 days, just flying around, right? Not uncommon at all. I mean, you can see it's airborne. It does it all the time. So, them pushing out this is fear mongering. All right. Could something pop off and he have to get onto that? Sure, absolutely. And that's probably why you're seeing the uptick in tempo, because they want to make sure everybody's ready. They know if something happens, they're not scrambling around like the Iranians trying to figure out who's who, where's and where they're going. Right. So, okay. So this whole E4B Night Watch Doomsday plane right here, don't sweat it, okay? It's not a big deal. If it becomes a big deal, we'll talk about it. We'll show you. More than likely, we won't be able to trace it if it does become a big deal. This is not something, if it was real, you would be seeing on the flight trackers, okay? All right, over here to the president's calendar. Not too much going on today. It does look like he is on the move here in the next few days, but it's pretty light. It looks like some swearing in ceremony here at 2:30. So he's definitely going to be in the White House later on this afternoon. So if you want to see what's happening over the United States, you got danger boxes on the left and on the right. This is where he's headed over the next couple days between now and the 23rd. One of them is golf course up here in Bedminster, but it's just eyes on it. We'll tell you if anything big happens. All right. Okay. Now, Trump has reportedly approved the Iran attack plan, but is withholding the final order. So he hasn't greenlit it completely, like, go knock it out. But this is a comment that he made that is very interesting. Okay. It says the next week is going to be very big, maybe less than a week. So there's speculation over the weekend this could be when this gets into play. Now, what we're talking about primarily, I believe, is the GBU-57. It's a bunker buster. You can hit things about 20 stories underground. So that would be enough to take out any nuclear program that they had, okay? Putin just came out, I think, yesterday and said something to the effect that that bunker has not been hit. Everything's still good. Khomeini, the Ayatollah Khomeini is still alive and well, right? So just eyes on it. I don't think the United States is going to be heavily engaged in doing strikes. If anything, I think will be a support function. But I think there is a dark horse that's going to come into play. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Now, this is the map. I tried to show this the other day. For some reason, it would not load. I don't know why. But this is the June 19th. And you can see all of the strikes around Iran that are being hit. You've got their air defenses supposedly. Well, let's see. Okay, so the air defense has supposedly shot down 5 Israeli drones. So they've still have some air defense in play. All right, but my understanding is these things are being taken out almost every time they turn them on. So, and then this one here says a bomb-laden drone was shot down near this village. So they're still trying to take stuff out. You get over here to Israel, dig in just a little deeper, and you can see, refinery fires. We talked about that last time as well. There's a lot of stuff happening. Tel Aviv is just getting peppered. And you can see the missile defense systems kicking in. All right. Let's move on. So this is basically the 17th. So this is 2 days ago. There's a 2-day lag. I can't get it live. I'm sure, again, these folks on the website probably have real-time data, but this is a 24-hour deal. It's over here at gpswise.aero if you want to go check it out. But you can see there is quite a bit of spoofing and jamming happening over here coming out of Iran, near Kuwait, all around the UAE, etc., over the last couple days. This is also jamming up the ship traffic. You can't see that. You see aircraft, but all the stuff going around the strait here is also being jammed. You can also notice Israel jammed up all around the Black Sea, super hot and heavy, and then into Russia. Russia's getting really jammed. This is pretty wild. You get over to the United States, you don't really see very much of that, although there's some right here. That's pretty unusual. Total flights 195 of jamming. So somebody around this area evidently was doing a little jamming. All right, let's move on. All right, flight tracker allegedly spies on mysterious Chinese transport planes headed for Iran. I will say this. I didn't go in and look because, I did look. I looked at the military flights from China. We'll show you that here in just a second. But this is going to be a 747 operated by a company called Cargo Lux. And supposedly it was bringing some stuff into Iran. Now, there are some serious alignments happening with Iran and some other countries. And again, we'll talk about that in just a second. So if you want to see what the military looks like from a Chinese perspective, actually, that's not Chinese. That is going to be Iranian. All right. I don't know why I didn't pull that in. Well, I thought I did. Okay. Well, don't you love going live? All right. Well, nonetheless, it wasn't a lot. There was only one flight that actually was very suspect to me, and it was the one that flew into Germany for some crazy reason. So, and that was Chinese military. Okay. All right. Don't you love when things work the way they're supposed to work? Okay. U.S. could strike Iranian nuclear sites as early as this weekend. That's the report. Senior U.S. officials are preparing for the possibility of a strike against Iran in the coming days. Now, this is why more than likely you're seeing the snap count. If you've ever watched the movie Sum of All Fears, you remember at the very beginning, everybody's on a plane. They're going through all of the processes for allowing a nuclear strike against Russia, I believe it was. But it was all just preparation. They train, they do it over and over so that when it does come down to the point that we need to do it, they don't miss a beat, okay? Because seconds matter in that situation. But this, it could be very much so that we give Israel a couple of GBU 57s and they take a C-130 and fly it in and drop them from there. So they don't have a B-2. That particular Moab is what they call it, mother of all bombs. It's a 30,000-pound bomb, okay, that can penetrate 20 stories underground. So you let that sink in. Most of the others that are out there are not. They go about 20 feet underground. So when you start talking bunker busters, this is the bunker buster of all bunker busters. All right. It is massive. I think it's about 30 inches in diameter and 30,000 pounds of ordnance. So Pretty crazy when you think about that, but that would get the job done 100%. So if we give Israel a couple C-130s, they load them on and they fly them over there and they make it to their target, there will be no more nuclear program in Iran. I can guarantee you that because these things you can't hide. All right, 20 floors down that's pretty deep. Okay, U.S. officials say the bunker buster strike on Iran's nuclear site will work, but Trump not fully convinced. So Trump is not so sure that it's going to actually do the job. I think it will definitely do it. But, we used that to hit bin Laden in the mountains of Afghanistan. You may remember that, Tora Bora, and you probably remember the C-130 that dropped that bunker buster. President is still weighing whether the strike is needed, despite Pentagon's confidence the bomb's capability to destroy that nuclear site. Okay, so pay attention to it. If they do use it, it's going to be spectacular. I will say that. All right, loose nukes in Iran is a scenario the U.S. spec ops community have been training for. I think that's a big concern for them. You can see some of your pipe hitters right here about to get jiggy. But this is this over here on, by the way, the War Zone, fantastic site, just twz.com. Just, you want to talk about just a plethora of information and good quality stuff. These guys got it. So, but yeah, they are training for all of this. Don't lose sight, too. There are plenty of people that would give Israel a nuke or two, right? And like I said, we'll get to the dark horse here in just a minute. But, that would not be good to have loose nukes floating around Iran, okay? So then you go here to New York. You go, what is going on here, right? Pro-Iranian protests march through New York City, right? Crowds of these. Okay, round them up, send them over there. Why is this going on here on our soil? It's because we had such porous borders, and you got a bunch of people that are just pro-Iranian. Look at Tucker Carlson. The stuff coming out of his mouth lately. I don't know. I'm talking about falling on your sword. I don't know what's going on with him, but for some reason he loves Iran. So yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Let's move on. Pentagon deploys F-22s as Trump weighs strikes on Iran. So we talked about the F-22s going across just a couple seconds ago. Let me drop it down. It doesn't show them, but there was actually photos of the aircraft landing in the UK, and it's a squadron. So that's additional assets going into the area. We are definitely worried about something. I said in the last SITREP that it was probably containment oriented, but there is a dark horse here. And like I said, we get to the end, and I think this may be what we have eyes on. There's some stuff going on that I think has made the Pentagon extremely nervous. Okay, so you want to see what F-35s look like as they go across the drink. I got one. I don't see. I got them coming off the West Coast, but you can see them leaving and headed outbound as they go across. Those would have been accompanied with the air refuelers. So as we watch the tankers go across, but notice this goes a little bit past the UK. So we got F-22s that just went into the UK, and then these could be tied to all of the exercises happening over there right now. Now, let me see if, let's go back to the Ruskies for just a second. Pay attention to what the Russians have been up to, all right? I usually see them flying in out of Tel Aviv. I got nothing, right? They're not even going in. But you can see for 2 days they've been pretty active. They did go down to the port of Sudan, which is a little concerning because we know the Chinese are down there as well, all right? And then you can see a lot of activity off on their east coast, and then stuff into China, and then down into Southeast Asia. Nothing in the U.S. That's, I guess, a good thing. So, pay attention because that's going to be an interesting to watch if and how they get engaged in this whole thing. All right, over to the Defense Post. So, that's something you really want to hear. U.S. Army's Q4 plan to produce 100,000 artillery shells has been delayed. They're saying it's because they had a problem getting the money to make it happen, Captain. So here we go. They're saying now 2026 is when it'll probably come online. But these are 155 millimeter, or as they say, 155 Mike howitzer shells. This is what we've been giving a plethora of to the Ukraine. And I don't know that we still are, but I will say we need them, and we will need them if we go to war. Having this delayed is not a good thing, because that means we're not going to be prepared to the degree that we need to be. 2026, even though it's still 6 months off, they're saying now Q1, that is when they think they'll have what they need. But the capability is behind schedule. So there you go. 155, Mike. All right. Man, did you know there was a third carrier fleet headed to the area? All right, pay attention. But this is now the USS Gerald Ford is deploying to the 6th Fleet, moving the 3rd carrier group. Boy, if we're not engaged, we got a lot of assets in the region. And this one is coming into play. Again, I think there's a dark horse in the mix of all of this we have to keep eyes on. But the fact that we've got 3 carrier groups in the region now tells you that there is a possibility this thing could go sideways. Okay. Satellite imagery is showing the evacuation of the largest U.S. base in the Middle East. This is Doha. I will tell you, I tried to do the slide on here. It really doesn't work, or at least I couldn't get it to work. But this is Doha. It's a huge runway. I think it's like 12,000-foot runway that goes across right here. You can land, a space shuttle on that thing if you needed to. So, but nonetheless, they basically moved a bunch of stuff. The reason for that, let me just take you back over here for a second. And the reason that is happening, so this is the base in question. It's in here in Doha. This is Bahrain. This is where the 6th Fleet is. But the reason they get them out of the way is because this is Iran right here. This is all within reach. You don't want our assets and our military personnel being, sitting right here exposed, well within range of, anything that Iran decided to launch. So they've moved most of that stuff, as I showed you, over here by Gibraltar, which is just up the road. It's not that far away, but in this area here. Okay. All right. Back to this. We talked about the carrier fleet and the satellite imagery. Look, this, when you hear me talk about broken bow and you're like, what is he talking about, broken bow? This is it right here. Behold, I will break the bow of Elam. Elam is modern day Iran. All right. So what we were watching happening, I'm going to go through some stories. This is taking place right now, folks. Jeremiah 49. This is prophecy that was written 2,600 years ago. Okay. It's coming into fruition, and we're watching it unfold before our very eyes. All right. Israeli Air Force may have hit the bunker housing Iran's supreme leader. Now, like I said, if they had a GBU-57, they probably would have gotten him, but I don't think it killed him, but I think they just hit a bunker, so he's got nowhere to hide. But they said explosions were heard around Tehran, and it said that Israel struck the underground sites, and I don't think they got him. It says, this was pretty funny here. Remember, Trump said, we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but we are not going to take him out, at least not for now. Let's give it the weekend, see what happens. All right. Okay. Israel vows to intensify attacks to undermine the Iranian regime. So you're talking about the broken bow. Okay. These people are starting to scatter. You got people fleeing from Tehran. That's also in there, right? You go back there. It talks about them going to the 4 winds right here. There it goes, right? Against Iran. I will bring the 4 winds, basically scattering them towards those 4 winds. So basically saying everybody's going to get out of town, okay? That's happening, all right? So here's another one, just to kind of tag into it here. The 3 aircraft left Iran, right, and landed in Oman. So you get over here, and let me just show you. There's the flight right there. Yeah, you can see them coming inbound. So you've got leadership fleeing the country, okay, and headed down. There's the aircraft parked on the ramp. Iranian government aircraft makes mysterious dash to Oman. They're getting out of Dodge, folks. It's exactly what the Bible said was going to happen. And then Khomeini vows Iran will never surrender and hits hypersonic missiles in Israel. And we've seen the videos, Tel Aviv just getting peppered left, right, and center. But let me take you over here and just another thing, right? As I mentioned, we are pulling people out. We're shutting down embassies. We've got, in fact, even the Israeli embassy is closed right now. There's another news cycle in that same area, again, very close to proximity and within range of the Iranians. But it says here, the U.S. Embassy alert Qatar. The U.S. Embassy has temporarily restricted personnel from accessing the Doha, that's the air base there in Doha, and is advising both staff and American citizens in Qatar to exercise increased vigilance. So they are very, very concerned that the Iranians may try to go sideways with us. All right, let's move on. Iran issues an evacuation warning for residents in Israel's Haifa. So that's not Israel telling, the Israelis to get out. This is Iran telling the Muslims, right, to get out. They're saying that they're getting ready to pop some stuff off. And this was an evacuation notice that was issued to the settlers of Haifa to protect them from the missile attacks. So, Israel does the same thing. They let people know in the areas they're about to hit to get out of Dodge. I guess you're trying to do it to limit civilian casualties, but at the end of the day, do you think the bad guys are like, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying? Nah. Not unless they're stubborn. So, all right, here's your dark horse right here. Don't ask me how I know this, but if I were to get a call from the White House, I would tell them how I know this, all right? But Trump embraces Pakistan. Tactical romance or new inner circle? This is your dark horse, folks. Watch Pakistan. They're nuclear, and they are in bed with Iran, right? They're going to betray Trump. 100%. It's going to happen. When does it happen? I don't know, but be careful. Watch these guys right here because they're going to stab Trump right in the back, okay? All right, folks. Well, listen, that is going to do it for our SITREP today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. Buckle up. This weekend could get really, really interesting. For those over on Patreon, we'll have the usual weekend stuff. I'll have the Monkey Minute out as well as the Saturday SITREP. And we're probably going to look at, what's going on with the agency boys. Like, where are they moving? Because that's going to tell us a lot. So we'll talk about that over the weekend on Patreon. If you aren't over there, love to have you join us. Just go look up patreon.com and then Monkey Werx US. And it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So love to have you. All right, folks, that's it. You guys be safe. Keep that powder dry and stay frosty. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out.